All right, so we have people, okay, people are hopping in already. Welcome to OnRIA, everybody. Thank you for joining us. It is December. It is the last month of 2021.
Ho, ho, ho.
Ho, 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 ho. Oh, look at this. We can set up audio. We can play some music if we wanted to. I didn't know that was an option. Welcome, everybody. As you come in, please look down to the bottom of your screen. You will see the chat box. Why don't you pop in there and say hello? Let us know where you're joining us from. Tonight, it looks like people are rolling on in. We've got about 20 people joining us. Christina from Ottawa, hello. We have Patrick from Georgetown, Mike from the big town of Shakespeare. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Shakespeare, that's not too far from where we are located in Ontario. Awesome. Good to see you guys. Don't be shy. And when you are chatting, you might need to change your where it says to. There is a drop-down menu, and you can have it to go to everyone or just the host and the panelists. You want it to go to everybody because we all want to see where you're coming in from, okay? So make sure when you go in that chat box, you change to, click the drop-down menu, and then make sure it says to everyone. Let's see, we've got Cameron coming in from Moncton, New Brunswick by way of Burlington. Let's see, Chloe from Burford. Megumi from Kitchener. We've got Andrew. Hey, Andrew. Sarnia. Brian O'Brien from Cambridge, my old stomping ground where Sarah and I grew up. Marshall from Oshawa. Judy from Alliston, another small town. Jason in Calgary. Robin in Caledon. Welcome to all of you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't be shy. Make sure when you join, you mention where you're from.
Interkip. What?
Interkip, Paul, representing Interkip. I love it. Shawn and I are joining you from our new home in, well, I guess it's not that new anymore, but our current home in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. It is a balmy, what was it today, 27 degrees. Not too shabby. So we're trying to send you some warm vibes as you come on in. So keep mentioning as you join, mention where you're coming in from. Let's see, it's 7:02. And we're going to give, before we get started, we'll give people a few more minutes to keep joining in. So as you join, we want to mention a few things. So oh, thank you. I don't need that right now. So tonight is our last OnRIA event of 2021. Now, if you have, I know there's quite a few people who are new to OnRIA. This might be your first time joining us. So I want to say a special welcome to you. And just so you know, so you're aware, every month that we run these events, we always record them and we post them to our YouTube channel. So if you haven't checked that out yet, all you need to do is pop onto YouTube. In the search bar, just type in the Ontario Real Estate Investors Association, and there you will see all of our recordings from the last year and a half, 2 years. I think when COVID started, that's when we started recording everything, because before that we were doing this all in person, which maybe we should talk about later. Let's see, we have some more people coming in here. Nadine from Barrie, Jason, hello. Hillary, Penny joining us from Chatham. Nadine, we got Barrie, we have London, Ontario. Oh, hey there. Toronto, awesome. So all over, really. A lot of people from Ontario, which we're used to seeing, but we got some people from other spots as well. So as you come in and you say hello, I'm always, I appreciate when you guys fill out the form before the event, when you're registering for the event, so we can get an idea of who's here. And when I say who's here, I mean, investor level wise, where are you at? So I will let you know, and I don't have the exact numbers in front of me because I know we've had some more people register since I checked, but we typically have about 50% of those joining us are either brand new to investing, they haven't yet bought their first property, either that be a rental or a flip, or they might have one property under their belt. So still very new investors. And you may not even think of yourself as an investor yet. You might still be in that information gathering stage. I want to let you know you're in the right place. Okay. This is for the entire gamut of investor, whether you're brand new or you are a full-time investor with a large portfolio. About, I would say 20% of the people who join us at ONREA fit that bill. They're full-time investors. They might have a large multi-million-dollar portfolio. And then we've got those everywhere in between. So this is sort of what ONREA is about. If you're brand new to joining us here, we really try and follow 3 pillars. We want to connect people. Real estate really is all about people. It's a connection business. So with that being said, we really want you to be involved in the chat tonight. I know it's easy with a webinar format to sit back and sort of be passive and just watch like a TV show. We don't want that. We want you to make sure you're getting involved, because the more times your name shows up in that chat bar, the more people can get to know who you are, what you're doing, what you're looking for. So that being said, if you are looking for something, then I would like you to put it in the chat. If you are looking for a deal, if you're looking for a rental property, if you're looking for a flip, if you already have a flip sourced or a rental property and you're looking for a JV partner, if you're looking for a money partner, don't be shy. Put that in the chat, because we want to be able to connect you with the people who can help move you forward. Okay, that's part of what ONREA is all about. It's this community that are looking to help each other. Okay, Mike Hill, always looking for multifamily. Good. What else are you guys looking for? Pop it into the chat. And as people, as you can go through the chat here and see what people are looking for, I want you to do something. Here's your action item for the evening. And I'm not trying to be bossy, but I want you to take your pen and grab a piece of paper, and I want you to jot down a few names, okay? If you scroll to the very top of the chat, you'll first be able to see where people are joining from, so you can get an idea geographically, hey, this person is only 20 minutes from me. I should probably write their name down. Maybe we can connect for a coffee, okay? Or if you see someone who's looking for, a multifamily or looking for a JV partner, and that's something you're interested in, write that down. This is people that you can connect with, okay? You're going to take that name, you're going to look them up on social media. It's not weird. We do that all the time. Don't be creepy about it like Shawn is, but I'm just kidding. But this is your opportunity, okay? This is your opportunity to connect with other people, like-minded people who you can help each other move forward in business, all right? So that's one part of ONREA. Another part of ONREA is obviously the education piece, right? We want you guys to be learning and growing your knowledge when it comes to real estate investing. And we're super excited for our speakers this evening to share their knowledge, share their experience. The big difference with ONREA and who we bring in to speak is these aren't, gurus that talk the talk but don't walk the walk. These are people who are active investors, local, and when I say local, these people are out east, but it's people who we personally know. Okay, I grew up with Sarah LeRiche, which is hilarious that we are like, where we are now, and we're doing this together, which is super cool. But these are people that we personally know, and we are excited to have join us. The third part of ONREA, and this might be the most important part,
Sure.
is that, we don't just want you to connect with people. We don't just want you to grow your knowledge, but the major thing is we need you to take action, because you can meet all the people you want and you can learn all the things you can, but unless you're taking that and actually applying it and taking action steps consistently, you're not going to meet your goals. That is a critical part of the process. So that is something that we want to encourage you to do. And I can still see there's more people chatting away. I love it. Keep that going. As you go, I'd also like to know, what is one thing, one goal that you're working towards right now, like that you want to achieve before the next, before the new year? in the next 2 to 3 weeks in real estate? What is something that you want to do? Is it, I want to put an offer in on a buy and hold. I want to finish my first flip. What is it that you're working towards so that we can cheer you on? Okay, that's a big part of Onria is, our community and cheering each other on towards action. So I can see still lots of stuff going on in the chat. I'm going to keep that going. For those of you who don't know us, you might be like, okay, who is this lady that won't stop talking? So my name is Jen. This is my husband, Shawn Allen. I apologize for our lighting situation. We'll get that sorted out. But 3 years ago, Shawn and I created Onria because we were investors in the London, Ontario area. And we were looking for, something like this, something where we had a space we could go learn more about real estate investing, where we could meet people, because at the time we wanted, we were in person, we could do those sorts of things. And we wanted that sort of, what's the word? Connectivity, encouragement, camaraderie, something where we could connect with people and sort of community. Thank you. That's the word I'm looking for. We could help move each other's businesses forward. So at the time, there really wasn't anything like this going on in London. So that's what we decided we would create. And since then, we have grown immensely. I think we have, between Facebook and Instagram, we have about 5,000 followers. We've got a very large email list of our community. And we love seeing you guys coming out every month. So that's a little bit about who we are. We're full-time investors who are right now spending the winter in Florida. We have a house in Palm Beach Gardens, and that's what we're doing. So we run this event basically to give back to the community and help other people who are coming through like we did, learn and grow and create wealth and time freedom. So I love it. Keep sharing stuff in the chat. Shawn, what am I missing? I always ask you.
Absolutely nothing. Perfect as usual.
Oh, he's a smart guy. Okay, so we are going to, oh, hi, Lauren's joining us. Lauren, we've been working with as our immigration lawyer. Thanks for joining us. Lauren Cohen, if you guys are thinking about investing in the US and thinking about needing to move to the US, you might want to connect with Lauren Cohen. That's who we've been connected with. I'm going to close this out so I can see what I'm doing. And where are we at now? It's about 12 after 7. We're going to get started, and I'm going to introduce our first speakers. So like I mentioned earlier, I know Sarah very well, and Nick as well. Sarah and I actually went to high school together, believe it or not, grade 9, I think. So I know these two people very well. And it has just been, is it guys, since 2017 that you started investing in real estate? I'm going to let you guys tell more about your story, but basically Sarah and Nick, they got started in real estate investing a little while ago. They started out with house hacking. If you're not familiar with that term, they had a secondary dwelling within their home. So they lived in one part, rented out the other. That's how we got started as well. And from there, they started buying, rental properties for their portfolio. Now they have grown that. They're doing multifamily deals across the country. So they're going to share with us their journey into investing, and specifically how and why they got started on the East Coast and what that looks like. So guys, I'll let you sort of fill in the blanks there, but thank you so much for joining us tonight.
No problem.
Hey, everyone.
Yay, we're excited to be here.
Yeah.
Hi, Jen. Hi, Shawn. Good to see you.
Congratulations on all your success. We've been following you too.
Yes.
We're super
Yes.
stoked to see what you guys have been up to, like just nonstop going, plowing through it. And it's admirable. So
Yeah, you
keep
guys
it up,
are
Shawn.
beasts.
Keep it up, Jen. Good
Good
moves,
for you.
guys. Yeah.
Thank you. All right, I'm gonna mute us and you guys can go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, shout out to everyone on the call tonight. We recognize so many people here. Sonia, nice to see you here. Hillary, how's it going?
Brian O'Brien.
Yeah, Brian and Rick and Jude, what's up? We got a deal coming up together, so really excited to see everyone here. Welcome to this webinar. We want to add value in our conversation tonight. We are NSE Real Estate. We buy multifamily buildings across Canada. And we are 3 people. This is me. I look very different right now. My wife, Sarah, and my business partner, Evan McLeish. Evan McLeish takes care of the financing part, and he finds the properties, and he does runs the numbers on them. And then if the numbers fit our criteria, he brings them over to me, which I then vet and then pass on to investors. So I raise capital, I create the corporation, and Sarah runs the show. So she does the entire operations for our East Coast properties. And when she's at her capacity. So if we're investing in other provinces, we'll get some boots on the ground to be our operationals person as well. And we'll just cut them in on the equity there. So we all have roles to play, and we just sort of hone in on, what we do. And basically, our investing strategy is just underperforming multifamilies. We like buildings that are, they're not distressed, they're okay. They're running fine. The banks are willing to put a mortgage on it. So it's an easy plug and play thing that we're doing out East. And we've been honing in on systems and just sort of, trying to perfect the system of purchasing underperforming properties. Basically, we're in the market of buying businesses that are mismanaged, and we just bring the value up and pull out money and pay back our partners, but it's not a full burr kind of thing. Sarah will go into all of this stuff. I just wanted to let you all know that we started this business in February of 2021. So we're fairly new.
We're not even a year old.
Not even a year old. So let's just a quick who
you should
I
tell
am.
them who you are. Yes.
I am Nick Skalkos. I'm from Kitchener, Ontario. That's where I met Sarah. We worked at a bar in Waterloo, and we met serving there. And we moved into Cambridge, but I actually don't live in Cambridge anymore. I'm actually out in Parsboro, Nova Scotia with Sarah, and we're moving to Halifax next week. So we're East Coasters now, or Blue Nosers or whatever. My parents immigrated here from Greece. It was a rough go. I grew up in homes for battered women and children. Eventually, I got my mom out of the system, and Sarah and I bought a house where she could come and live with us. And it was a bungalow with a side entrance, which we'll go into a little later. I think Jenn mentioned it earlier. Crazy childhood. I definitely wasn't handed at anything, but I was handed a pair of drumsticks, and I was pretty good at it. So I decided to start a band in high school, and it was rough. We didn't get anywhere. I tried and tried and tried. Nothing happened. But eventually I found a manager. I found someone that could do some silver talking, and he got us a record deal. And we signed, there was actually a bidding war with every record label in Canada, and we ended up signing with Universal Records. And from there, I ended up touring the world with some massive bands. And I've just had such a fortunate life. I've got a platinum record with City and Color. I've worked with some infamous producers. I've toured with some of my most favorite bands, like the Happy Mondays, the Pixies, Limb Lifter. This guy's from Bowie. This is Dallas Green. This is the Ting Tings. Like, it was crazy. And one day we saw that this guy was coming to town. This is Scott McGilvery. And he was talking about how he created wealth through real estate investing. And Sarah absolutely hated her job as a teacher. So she made me sign up to this program where we can learn about real estate investing. And this was 2016. And it was a fantastic program. It blew my mind. I didn't know anything about real estate investing, or had no interest in it. And so I became a KeySpire member. And slowly we started accumulating properties to the point where this is where we're at now. It started with JVing on, this is a house hack right here that we went in for 5% down, convinced the contractor to get paid when we did a refinance. Built a secondary suite in the basement. We moved into the basement, moved tenants in upstairs, used none of our own money to do that, recently cashed out. And that's how we have the money to live where we are right now. And that was just one house hack. So some of these properties are in Ontario, some of them are in Moncton, and some of them are in the Nova Scotia area. And the reason why I invest is it's because I want to do what I want to do. I want to wake up when I want to wake up, and I'm a musician. So in 2019, I did the theme song for Scott McGillivray's show called Scott's Vacation House Rules. And we ended up getting along really well. So we decided to actually write an album together, which was pretty interesting. So I'd go to Scott McGillivray's mansion. He'd come over to my small 1-bedroom basement apartment and we would write an album, which was pretty crazy. And I mean, how many people his age like are available during the day, right? Like everyone he knows has a job, right? Whereas I don't. I'm a real estate investor. It's what I do. I'm a musician. So I mean, so I invest in real estate so that I have time to do stupid shit like this and write music for Scott McGillivray. And also, I mean, my wife and I also wanted to have a healthy lifestyle. So we wanted to invest in real estate so that we could get our time back and start working out in the morning and get healthy, right? Here's me working at Habitat for Humanity. I love donating my time and now my money to causes that I believe in. I'm an animal rights activist, so is Sarah. So I'll go pick up a sign if I don't like something and I'll protest just because I can. I have the time to do it. And then here's Sarah and I, we got married at a Tim Hortons in 2000 and it was like 2001. I'm sorry, baby. And it was national news and it was crazy. Yeah, we got married at Tim Hortons. Anyway, that's a total other different story. I just wanted to give you guys a brief background in regards to like, who we are, what do we do now? And where did we come from? And I know that a lot of people can't really relate with like being a rock star or whatever, and then getting into real estate investing, but I honestly knew nothing about real estate investing when I started. And although we're at 94 doors soon, I guess, a control over 7 million in assets. And I just raised money. In the first 4 years, I've managed to raise 600K from people. But in the last year, I've raised 2 million.
Yeah, 2.6.
2.6 million in the past 8 months. So like something changed, the year prior to this, I was writing music with McGillivray and then all of a sudden starting wrapping up like apartment buildings and stuff. And the guest on the show here today, Tony LeBlanc, has a huge role in that. And we can get into that later. Yeah. But I just wanted to give everyone some context to who we are, where we're going and all that. And with that, I'll introduce you to my wonderful wife, Sarah, who works so hard and I couldn't do any of this without her.
Ditto, babe. So now that you know a little bit about our background, I want to dive into and give you guys some nuggets about how we did it. And if anything resonates with you, feel free to steal it and make it your own and do it yourself, replicate it, and go for it. So we started out with our first, our primary residence in Kitchener. And we bought that so that we would have an in-law suite for Nick's mom. And she lived with us for several years and that was fantastic. And then it was the studio for a little while. And then after we got re-inspired by Scott McGillivray with real estate, we decided that we should be using our house to make a little bit of money and reduce our expenses. So we did that. And then we decided we would do it again. So we bought a property in Cambridge and the house hack that Nick and Jenn were mentioning. But when Jenn asked us to come on, I thought about what would resonate or what would your audience, what would ONREA audience connect with the most? And I think what came to mind was that for the last 5 years, the two of us have been working at how we're going to build our real estate business from the basement of our duplex apartment. And that's really one of the big ways that we did it. So I've come up with 7 key tips and tricks that I wanted to share with you guys. I don't know if anybody's taking notes. I'll just try to let you know when I'm at a new bullet point. But basically the first one is compromise. And you just have to kind of think about what are you willing to compromise on to achieve the goals that you have. So for us, we really wanted our time. And going and giving my time. He says I hated my job. I hated lots of parts of my job. I love the kids. It's the only part that I miss, but everything else about it, I can leave that. But anyways, we didn't need to live in the upstairs because we wanted our time. So we knew that if we kept our expenses super low and our renter living above us basically covered all of the house expenses, we just had to pay for food and groceries and internet, like it was minimal what we had to pay for. It allowed me to leave my job in February of last year, which has been a game changer. And for anybody who's in that position where you're deciding whether or not you want to leave your job, one of the biggest things you get stuck on is what you're giving up when you leave your job. And, oh, I'm giving up this salary and that's so risky. And I would ask you to flip that and just consider what you're giving up by not leaving your job. Because if I had stayed teaching, I would not have 94 doors right now. So think about what you're giving up when you're willing to give all your time and energy and effort to somebody else rather than investing it in yourself. So that's tip number one, is compromise. Find where you're willing to cut the corners to get to where you want to get to faster. My second tip and trick is build your network. So exactly what you're doing right here. And Jen's great to encourage you to reach out and be active in the chat, because that's huge. Somebody said to us that real estate investing is just a series of conversations. And it's so true, because all of the things that we've done, whether it's a conversation with the lawyer or the accountant or the realtor or whoever it is, it's just a series of conversations that gets you from the idea of owning the property to actually having it as part of your portfolio. So don't be afraid to pay for proximity. It's great to be a part of meetup groups that are free, but when you pay to put yourself in a room with other people that are doing what you want to do, that's a game changer. It was a huge game changer for us to join Pay for Proximity and be a part of networks. So that's number two. Number three, find your market. So we were, in February, we were still looking in Ontario heavily. We were looking in Windsor and Chatham and going down and doing inspections, and then realizing that it wasn't a good property and having to back out. And in the meantime, I had connected with Tony LeBlanc, who's the other guest on tonight, because I had a tiny little inheritance and I wanted to invest it in real estate, but there was nothing I could invest in Ontario for that small sum of money. So I reached out and to Tony, because his website was my favorite website that I came across when I was Googling property managers in Moncton. And I had a great conversation with him. And I realized that, property managers, that's another tip for you guys, is that property managers are a long time relationship. That, a lot of the people that you do business with when you're in real estate, it's very transactional. Like the lawyer's just there for that one stint, the realtor's just there for that one stint. But the property manager, you're going to have a relationship with for as long as you own that property, most likely. So, and they also know the market really, really well. So I wanted to go shopping in Moncton, but I didn't know anything about Moncton. So I had a fantastic conversation with Tony. I learned why I wanted Moncton to be the market that we focused on. And it's what you look for in a market. So find your market. What brought us to the East Coast was, and specifically Moncton, was the mixed labor force. There's a big immigration funnel there as well, because when you come into Moncton, New Brunswick is a fully bilingual province. So you've got a fully bilingual workforce, which is amazing. There are favorable landlord and tenant laws. So a lot of us are coming from Ontario, where we know the laws are definitely heavily favor the tenants. And if anybody's ever experienced trying to have a tenant evicted for non-payment or whatever those reasons might be, that it can be really challenging in Ontario. Whereas New Brunswick, it's very friendly to the landlord. So if somebody doesn't pay, it's very easy to have them evicted. But it's, yeah. So are there any other reasons that we picked Moncton? that you can think of before I move on to my next one?
Well, yeah, I think the low vacancy rate had a lot to do with
Yes,
things, and
yes.
obviously the low price point as well. And the fact that we had Tony LeBlanc, who thankfully believes in vertical integration and had every sort of company that we needed. It was like a one-stop shop. You know, the numbers worked. That's why we ended up investing there.
Awesome. Yes. So that's number 3, find your market, figure out where you want to invest in and get to know it inside and out. And then my 4th tip for you would be determine your strategy. So what's your criteria? Pick a lane, a real estate lane, and that brings a lot of clarity. So the analogy that I used was when we first started out, we would look at every opportunity, whether it was a duplex, a flip, a BRRRR, a 4-plex, an 8-plex, like we were just all over the place. And as opportunities would pop up, we just felt like we had to like give them our attention and our time. And the analogy I use is like being out in a field full of butterflies and you have no strategy, no plan. You're just trying to catch as many butterflies as you can. And you end up with none because you don't have any clear focus. But once we decided that we were going to go for multifamily, so 5 units or more, and that we were looking for the criteria that Nick was talking about earlier, where it's not dilapidated, a bank will put a mortgage on it. Once we really got our niche of what we were looking for, there was so much clarity, and all the other extraneous deals that would have, you know, pulled our attention in other directions dropped away, and we could really just scale and move forward because we knew exactly what we were looking for. So that's number 4. My tip for you is determine what your strategy is going to be, the criteria that you're looking for, and pick that lane. Number 5, my tip, number 5 is find your team. So you're going to need a big, not a big, but a really good team. So we were in the basement of our apartment in Cambridge. And that's when we were doing most of our deals the past 8 months. And how did we do that from a basement apartment? We never went and saw any of the properties. We own 14 properties, and I think we've seen 10 of them. No, maybe we've seen 3 of them and haven't seen, I don't know. Basically, we bought almost all of the properties without seeing any of them. Certainly our East Coast properties, they were all purchased before we ever laid eyes on them physically. So you need a really awesome team. Your property manager, as I've said before, that's huge. So because part of finding your team is also the who, not how approach. So Nick has a good story that he talks about, that he was in the middle of trying to like go out and get extra paint cans, and he was touching up the unit and getting it ready to be shown. And he was getting all these phone calls, and he almost missed a deal because he was too busy trying to get the paint cans and the renovation sorted. And I don't know, we're not renovation people. Like, we don't want to paint, we don't want to change lights, we don't want to do any of the hands-on stuff because it would take us twice as long. We wouldn't do it nearly as good of a job. So when I say find your team, know what you want to do, what you do really well, and what would excite you, and then outsource everything else that you can't stand or don't want to do. So I don't want to be a property manager, but I do value what they bring. So I want to work with an amazing property manager. And a lot of our success is from building our team and the relationships that we have. So you're going to want to know appraisers and inspectors, contractors, commercial lenders, insurance contacts, lawyers, wholesalers, realtors, bookkeepers, accountants. Those are all really integral parts of your business. So make sure that you go and you vet your team and you find quality people that are real estate focused. So you really want to avoid going with somebody because they're a friend of a relative of, somebody you knew from high school, right, Jen? You want to avoid working with people that are just convenient rather than somebody that's real estate investor focused. That makes a big difference. Anything to add to find your team, or is that?
Yeah, well, a good tip for us was, you can get in a situation where if you're a JV and you're looking to get a JV money partner, you're a JV working partner, you got, you've got a building under contract and the seller wants a certain amount of money for it. And you're assuming you're going to get financing at 75% loan to value. But that assumption can turn around and bite you in the butt if the appraisal comes in lower. And then all of a sudden you have to come up with this extra money last minute and you can lose your money partners and the whole deal could fall apart. So what I would suggest, which could be a little difficult, but I suggest you try and befriend an appraiser and, have an appraiser on call, like someone that you can be like, hey, I'm looking at acquiring this property. What do you know about it? Odds are he's probably done an appraisal on it before and knows everything about it. You can then have this conversation with the appraiser to see whereabouts an appraisal would land and then how far away the actual seller is from that. So if you can get to that point before you even put in an offer, you'll just know where you're sitting in regards to that, and you're mitigating the surprises as well. So that's a tip that I would love to share with you guys that I found extremely helpful.
That's a good one. And your money partners appreciate it a lot too when there's no surprises when you're getting close to close. Awesome. Okay, number six is find your deal. So you've got your market, you've got your team, now you've got to find that deal. One tool that we use that's free, and then if you want to really scale and use it on a higher level, you can pay for it as well. But Deal Check is a really good app that we've used just for quick underwriting of properties, like quick pro forma to see how it's going to perform. And Evan, our business partner, has gotten really proficient at using Deal Check. And then to reiterate what Jen was saying, you can take all the courses that you want and you can know a deal inside and out, but you do have to eventually take the plunge. And I would just suggest that you're not going to know everything. I'd certainly, absolutely, we do not know everything at all. We make mistakes all the time. The trick is we just try to learn from them, improve, tweak, hone, streamline whenever we can. But if we never took the plunge, we wouldn't have those learning opportunities. So don't be afraid to have learning opportunities. That's your best takeaways, is when things don't go exactly how you want them to go, but you go anyway. And surround yourself with people who do. So you don't know everything, but if you are getting into circles of people that do what you aspire to do, then you're surrounding yourself with people that have the answer for the question that might come up. So don't be afraid. Surround yourself with people that you feel like you've got a really good network to fall back on, and then take the plunge. I mean, the worst case scenario is that you have an asset that you can sell. So get it under contract and get that out of the way so that you can move forward and grow. And then last tip and trick for you guys in number 7 is find the right investor. So when we first started looking for people to partner up to be our money partners, and we were going to be the working partners, and we were pretty open to just about anybody. And what we realized is that if we're going to hold on to these properties for 5, 10, 15, maybe even 20 years, we're going to want to work with people that we want to have conversations with 5, 10, 20 years down the road. So it's really important that whoever you team up with, there's a mutual respect. Like, we aren't working for our money partners, we're working with our money partners, and they understand that they wouldn't be investing in the properties if we hadn't created the opportunity for them to be able to invest in those properties. And we are so appreciative of them because we wouldn't have been able to do it. So when you can find a really good chemistry, I guess, with your money partners that you're teaming up with, where it's a mutual respect and you're on the same page with your long-term goals, and you can write up a shareholders agreement so that everybody feels that their needs are covered in that agreement and it's legal and binding. And then, yeah, work with people who you want to work with. Life is way too short to leave your job and then turn around and work with people that you don't want to work with. You just thought that you needed to take their money, and you'll be so much better off by being choosy actually about who you partner with. So yeah, pick the right people to work with for sure. What did I miss?
That was great, honey. I think I learned something. That was good. Isn't she awesome, everyone? I just want to address some questions here. He's been at the forefront of trying to explain to the powers that be of why that's a bad thing. I don't know if you can still see me, so we'll let him address that. And doors, what's the average door for average door count when it was when we were purchasing in April till just October and November, we were doing like a massive buying spree. We were paying around like 80,000 a door, I would say, around there. Now it's not uncommon to, and again, Tony can talk to this more, but it's not uncommon to see, buildings going for like 90 or 100K a door, even up to 120 actually. So, the prices are rising, which is great. And Nadine wants to know, do we set up a separate corp for each multifamily building? Yes, we do. We set up a corporation for every building. And then Sarah and I have a holding company that receives dividends from each of the operating companies. And then you don't have to have a holding company if you're a shareholder. Some do, some don't. There are tax implications apparently for moving money from one corp to another, but I can reiterate what they are. I just have a good accountant that tells me to do things a certain way, so we do. But yeah, that's a great question. And
Guys, there's a question in the Q&A I'll read to you here. And for anyone else, if you have a question for Nick and Sarah, if you could not put it in the chat and instead look over to the right-hand side at the bottom of your screen, there's a Q&A section there. And that way the questions don't get lost with the comments. I should have mentioned that earlier, sorry. But there is a question from Don. He asks, are the rents keeping up with the increase in property value in Moncton?
That's Tony will probably field that one better than I will. But the rents, that's one of the reasons that that we chose the Moncton market as well. They're surprisingly high for the price of real estate. So when we were originally comparing rents of what we were getting with our Windsor and Chatham properties with the rents that were coming in Moncton, they were comparable, but the buildings were double the price. So the other thing with the Moncton market is that there is no cap on what you can raise rents. It's basically the market dictates it. So you could ask $3,000 for a 2-bedroom apartment. You're not going to get it, but you could ask it. There's no cap there. So it's whatever the market will bear. So yeah, there's a lot of ways that you can counteract that, but you also have to be affordable and reasonable. As a landlord, I think you could definitely take advantage of the landlord tenant laws there. And I think coming from Ontario, we have an appreciation of how friendly those laws are. And so we try to find a balance between what works for us and what's reasonable and fair for our tenants, because they don't have a lot of laws in place for them. So, and on that note, Nova Scotia is sort of the best way I can describe it is a cross between New Brunswick and Ontario. So it's not as lenient as New Brunswick, but it's not as hard as Ontario to get.
Yeah, like there's rental caps and stuff.
Yeah,
probably just because of COVID, but evictions are easier than they are in Ontario.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's a good thing to mention. We had another question come in. What are some key things that you guys look for when you look to buy a multifamily?
The DSCR has to be at least 1.2. It's a debt service coverage ratio. So that's what the bank decides whether they're going to put a mortgage on it or not. If it's below that, then you get into creative financing, which we've done before, not interested in really doing again at the moment. So that means the building needs to be in a mortgageable state already. So it needs to be kind of cash flowing. And so that's what we look for. You know, there may need a new roof, but the units are okay condition, or the roof's good and the units need to be redone. You know, either way, we do want to raise the rents. So we do want to improve the building. And we eventually plan on, you know, either moving to a conventional mortgage or a CMHC mortgage. But when we do want that building performing at its peak so that we're refining and getting the most out of it and paying back our money partners as much as we can. And again, these are equity partners. So these aren't private loans or anything. They're in for the equity piece. So if we're doing it 50-50, you know, we get 50%, they get 50%. They get paid back at refinance and they keep getting repaid back until they're paid back in full. And then we go ahead and split it among them. But yeah, great question. The first thing we look at is obviously is the DSCR, debt service coverage ratio, because that'll determine whether we can get a mortgage on it or not. And then from there, you call your property manager and find out, hey, you know, what kind of area is this? You know, who's living here? And you just, you know, you do your due diligence and you order your home inspection and you talk to the appraiser and be like, how far off are the sellers, you know, and just start the due diligence process.
And then for the physical building itself, we've mentioned before that we don't want it to be dilapidated. So it can't be vacant because you can't get any bank to lend on a vacant unit. And we also prefer purpose built just because we like the bones that if we strip them down, we understand that they were built for the purpose of multifamily. So we do have some properties in our portfolio that are not purpose built and they've been fine. But we just prefer purpose built.
Awesome. Okay, a couple more questions here. Nadine is asking, how have you found, in your experience, how have you found realtors? You know, do they have a good understanding of working with an investor when it comes to understanding multifamily cap rates, that sort of thing? And second part of the question, what percentage of your properties bought in Moncton were off market?
Almost all were off market.
Yeah. So
Tony,
what we did is instead of getting a realtor, we did have a realtor, but our realtor was Tony LeBlanc, who was our property manager. We knew him as our property manager, but he is realtor licensed and he could sell buildings and it's brilliant because he knows the owners and the owners know him. And so sometimes they're just like, hey, I don't want to post this building. I don't want people kicking tires, walking through, bothering my tenants. Do you know anyone that would want to buy this place? And Tony'd be like, hell yeah, I've got a pocket of people, you know, waiting. So that's interesting. You know, it's sometimes that, you know, don't just look for realtors, you know, add realtors, add wholesalers to your list of people looking, and property managers, because they know people looking to sell. So there's a good tip right there. And you need deal flow. You can't be hanging out in a market that's too hot, waiting for a deal to come in, because you can't scale like that. So you got two options. You can go to where returns are best, or you can pivot and start new development. And, you know, and which is creative, which is really hard, you know, so we just pivot and we go into markets where returns are best instead of trying to make a market work when it's getting too hot. So that's one big mistake that people make.
Totally getting in, trying to make something work in a market like where it's all based on speculation that it's going to go up in value, but it's not actually performing well at the outset.
You can do it, maybe a luxury condo, or you could tear down a single family home and erect an 8 unit. But I mean, that's tricky stuff. So
for the faint of heart. No, for the realtor question, I would say the vast majority, what is it? Something like 90% of realtors are not investor focused realtors. So I would say most realtors are not going to know cap rates of multifamily buildings. Like you're looking for a really specific realtor. And you know, you want to know what is the bulk of their business, because if the bulk of their business is single family homes, that's not the right realtor for you.
No, that's right. If you're looking for cap rates, you should probably get cozy with an appraiser and the bank. And then you can just, like, between the two of them, you could sort of average out what the cap rate is. And then you can do a quick analysis, right? You take the NOI, divide it by the cap rate, you get the value of the building. It's quick, but it gives you a pretty good idea if you have an actual NOI. So for, for a realtor, it'd be best if the realtor could give you the numbers of the property. Rather than have you do that, that would be awesome. Where the realtor is like, hey, I got a property for you, 7% cash on cash, 32% ROI. This is the cash required. Obviously, you need to verify and run your own due diligence and pad it yourself. But that would be great, investor focused realtor, if they just provided you with the numbers. So instead of giving you a portal to all the 200 homes available in your area, they just narrowed it down to 4. Broke down the numbers for you and get hit, here's this duplex, fourplex, or whatever it is. That would be great. So, but Tony did that for us when we moved into Moncton. So he ran the numbers, gave us off market deals, and
you needed Tony.
It's great.
Guys, I have a question for you, because there are many people watching who are brand new to investing. They're just looking to get started. And to them, if they're located in Ontario, they have a minimum amount of money to invest. So investing somewhere like the East Coast sounds pretty attractive. But I mean, yourself how much fear you felt when you first started investing. Was there anything that you feel helped you push past that fear to actually take action? I know you had said to embrace it as a learning opportunity, but was there anything that there was sort of that shift in your mindset that made you actually pull the trigger and get started?
I'll dive in and then you can think about what you want to say. For me, I just go to what's the worst case scenario. So if I do this deal, if I make this offer, what's the absolute worst thing that could happen? And if the absolute worst thing that could happen is that they say no, well, that's not a big deal. Or if I get the property and then I have to walk away from it, if it's before, conditions have been waived, then that's not really a big deal. And if I get the property, close on the property, and then shit hits the fan and I need to walk away from it, well, then I could sell the property. So I try to go through like, what are the worst things that could possibly happen? And if I have a stomach for those, if I'm like, you know what, that's not really that bad, then I don't let it stop me. I go for it. So how do you get started? You get started, you put an offer in and you do it. And then it doesn't go how you think it's going to go pretty much ever. And you just keep doing it. You just keep moving forward, like one little step forward. And, if putting an offer in is like a big hurdle, just go throw an offer in something that you don't even want and walk away from it, just to get that out of your system, get those jitters out of your system, because we've put offers in lots of properties that we don't own.
No.
Yeah.
My whole thing is why do you need to see it? Like, why do you need to go in front of the building and look at it and be like, this is mine. I own this. Like, why is that a part of the process? Why do you need to walk through it and look at shit? Don't you have a contractor on the ground that knows more than you do? Like, just because I'm the owner doesn't give me a right to go down there and bark around orders to people that actually know what they're doing. These are people that you've set up to be your boots on the ground. You got to ask yourself, like, do you really want to be driving by one of your buildings and seeing a tenant sticking their head out smoking a cigarette and now it's just ruined your day because you're pissed off? Or, do you want to go run to the dollar store to grab a heater or something? Like, do you really want, why do you want to be close to your properties? Why do you want to keep an eye on your property? For me, I think you can design your own life. And for me, I want to learn how to scale. I want to scale to hundreds of properties, and then that take less of my time. Like, I want to put less of my time in and get more work out. I want to automate systems. I want to streamline systems. I want leads coming to me without me having to take care of it. Like, I just want people doing it for me. So the idea of investing abroad actually aligns with our goals of taking our time back and being less involved with working in your business and more about scaling your business. So yeah, this is a major mindset thing, you know. And then at the end of the day, guys, it's fear that stops us from doing this stuff. And you got to ask yourself, well, what is fear? Well, fear is like fear of the unknown, you know, fear of losing your money, fear of making a mistake. So you just got to ask yourself, like, how can you remove fear from the equation?
I have an answer. You partner up. So if you are paralysis by analysis, or you can't get over that hurdle and you can't, you know, make that step, or you're feeling like, you know, too scared to actually take the plunge, partner up with somebody else who complements you. So find somebody who fills in your blanks. You know, when we partnered up with our business partner, Evan, a lot of things changed because we were all able to fall into roles naturally. And it felt really good to know that somebody else was looking after the acquisition part and somebody else was looking after the lawyer. And they feel really good knowing that I'm looking after the banking and the operations. So yeah, partner up. If you're having a really hard time making the first move, team up with somebody, and it doesn't have to be partnership for life. It could just be, you know, we partner up on different people with different deals. And so, but it does help a lot. So yeah.
Awesome. That's a great point. And this is a great opportunity for anyone on this webinar to get active in the chat. If you are kind of stuck in a bit of fear, you're looking for, you know what maybe your weaknesses are, and you're looking to complement your strengths with someone else's strengths, this might be a good time to put in the chat what you're looking for. Guys, I love that. That was amazing. Thank you guys so much, and congratulations. I am so proud of you guys, you know, seeing where you started. And I had no idea you had that many properties now. So good for you. That's fantastic. That's awesome. Shawn, did you have any questions for? I know we've been sort of like.
Yeah, I did actually have one question that came to mind when you flashed the picture of all your different units. Are you guys trying to stay?
That sounded terrible. Flash the picture of your unit.
Oh, come on. It's like family program.
Sorry.
Yeah. When you like, you guys have you sort of look like you're in like the, you know, triplex to 12plex sort of range. Is that on purpose, or are you also looking for larger buildings as well? Or are you trying to stay within that sort of, you know, smaller mid-range apartments?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
We started with duplexes and triplexes and fourplexes because we thought those were easier. Like, let's just start
They were
small.
comfortable.
But the truth is that
Harder.
getting financing on a 7-unit or 8-unit, it's a lot easier than getting financing on a triplex or even a single family home. So we do have fourplexes and triplexes in our portfolio, but we are 100% absolutely not going for those right now.
Yeah.
We started at 6 units and 7 units, but we're just focusing on 12 units and up now. And I think 2022 will bring a new level. Probably would like to slow down the acquisitions. We've been growing really fast and it's been burning me out personally. And so I'd like to maybe do bigger buildings, not so frequently, you know, maybe a 40 unit or 50 unit every 2-3 months instead of a 12 unit every month. I think that right.
It is good to keep that in mind, because all the work that you do to get a 6-unit building is essentially the same amount of work that you would do for a 24-unit building. So, you know, when you'd want to get your time back, if you scale up in the buildings that you're going for, you know, you can add a lot more doors for the same amount of work if you focus on those bigger units. So we're at a point where we're just regrouping and putting our goals for 2022 together, figuring out what we want that to look like.
Yeah. So we just closed on a 12 unit and then we got an 8 unit under contract in Saskatchewan and then a 12 unit under contract in Saskatchewan. So we're kind of moving around the country now.
Yeah. So our business partners in
takeover.
we were in Ontario, then we moved to Nova Scotia, and we've got properties in Ontario, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and soon to be Saskatchewan. So it's crazy.
Well done.
Fantastic. Awesome. Thank you guys so much. It was awesome. And guys, is there, how can people connect with you if they wanted to sort of ask you more about, what you're doing, or if they're interested in like maybe JVing with you guys. I don't know if you're looking for more JV partners or not, but how can they connect with you?
Nick is the social guy, so.
Yeah, you could, I'll drop my email in the chat. Basically, we're looking for JV investors. Usually the minimum investment is 100,000, and it's a long-term JV partnership and a multi-unit, so you don't have to personally qualify your income. The building qualifies for itself. And if you're interested in JVing with NSE Real Estate, you can either visit nscrealestate.com and get a hold of me through there, or you could just email my personal email, which is nick.skalkos@gmail.com.
We'll put it in the
I'll
chat.
drop that in the chat. And everyone's welcome to reach out. I would love,
Questions.
or even just
Yeah.
to chat. I'm really busy, so I might not have time to just chat about real estate as much as I'd love to do that. But it never hurts, doesn't hurt to try if you want to try and reach out. So
Yeah.
nick.skalkos@gmail.com.
I think I'm putting it in the
Thank
chat
you.
right now for you. There we
Oh,
go.
Okay.
I think I got that. Double check to make sure that's right, but I think that's
Good. Thank you.
Yeah.
okay. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. And that was fantastic. I love the 7 tips. And we will probably summarize that and put that in an email blast out to everyone. So that's fantastic. Awesome. Okay. Next up, we're going to keep this night rolling. What time? Oh, it's 8 o'clock already. Okay. So next, let me see here if do I have the right view on? Yeah. So next, I asked Shawn to talk for just a couple minutes about something that's happened. When did this happen? 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, it's been going on for the last few weeks.
Last few weeks. Okay. So we also invest in multifamily. That's sort of been our focus for the last little while. We are known for being flippers, but we have a lot of multifamily properties. So Shawn, we're always asked about creative deal structuring. That's kind of Shawn's specialty, thinking outside the box. And this is just, I wanted him to illustrate what happened recently, just to have you also sort of think outside the box as to what you can do. So Shawn, I'm going to slide this over to you.
Yep.
We need a better office.
We do. Okay. Well, we can go outside with the palm trees. That'd be good.
We need to run this during the day.
All right. So yeah. So I just wanted to, I guess I'm going to take a couple of minutes and just talk about the latest acquisition that we had, and it's a really just an understanding of different ways that you can look at deals and different, like you don't always have to be stuck dealing with, agents and dealing with, MLS numbers, and this is the price and this is what they expect. There's different ways that you can look and deal with things, especially if you don't have an agent involved and you're going face to face with direct to seller. Sometimes it's a lot easier because you don't have that sort of interference, and if you don't have a sophisticated realtor that's working with you that also knows how to do creative stuff, it can be a little bit more difficult. But thankfully I work with some good realtors that are like that, and shout out to Jeff Weibel that helped me on this one as well. But this one is, I'm going to give you sort of like the way that it got set up, how we came to the terms, what it looks like, and then just sort of give you, the high level view of how you can make something work that really didn't seem to be working at the time. When we first started dealing with the seller, the property wasn't even listed. We had went direct to the seller. What happened was the seller basically said, and this is an A-level property, we're looking for A-level stuff that doesn't need any work, much like Nick said, we're going to get something that you can put a mortgage on right away. You've got good tenants, you've got good cash flow, you've got good debt service ratios. This is a really nice property that I want to put in my portfolio and I want to hold on to it for long term. So we approached the seller. Seller said, okay, well, I could be interested in selling. This is a 23 unit, but I want 3.2 million, or sorry, 3.5 million. And so, okay, we looked at that. I didn't really like the numbers, so to speak. I offered 3.2 million. And I felt that was, it was a good compromise. It worked well with the numbers. One of the problems that, and this is like a good exercise in understanding sellers, right? So we could have just talked about the numbers and gone head to head with the numbers, and it didn't work. and just went fine. Like, this seller's being, they're not being reasonable, and I'm not going to deal with it this way. But when I got actually talking to the seller, this is why it's good going face to face. It really came to light that this seller really had pride of ownership. They've had this property, they've renovated themselves, they put all the tenants in. It's kind of the property that they've got a lot of pride in. They don't want to see it taken over by a slumlord. They don't want to see it taken over and sold part of a wholesale. It was getting offers by other people that just wanted to wholesale the property for money. He wanted to see it go with someone, if you tell it, that would take care of it, put it in a portfolio, and have it for a long term. Well, knowing that, we started to, I was thinking outside the box, what can I do to get the property, make it a win for me and for this? So he wanted 3.5 for 3.2 this pack. For the I wanted him to take back for $2.5 million at 0.75%. He was willing to do the vendor take back, which is a whole different story we can talk about for a long time, but he would do it for 2.5 million at 4%, or 3.5 million purchase price, 2.5 vendor take back at 4%. So we're a little bit off there. What do you do at this point? We've kind of compromised, we've gone back and forth, it's not working. So I decided, how do I just offer what he wants? Does that sound a little bit crazy? I'm going to give him more money than he wants. So I did $7 million, so $200,000 more than what he wanted to give him on the 2.5, which is financing. I'm not paying any financing on this property 5 years. On top of what's 1 million, 3.75, 2 million that I would come up with.
Hey, where did they go? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, I can
Yeah.
hear you, Nick. I'm not sure
Hey.
what happened.
We lost the host.
Yeah.
They were gone. They were gone.
Well, they said that there was a storm where they were. So I wonder if the storm.
Oh, they're coming back in.
Oh,
There you go. Hey guys.
There you're back. Hey.
Luckily, they made us co-hosts, or else the meeting would have dropped.
You're muted. Oh, there you
Zoom
go.
gives a heart attack every month. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know what happened. Our internet didn't go out. So bizarre. Anyway.
Okay, so back to the start. Nick, no. So sorry.
Where did you?
Oh, like halfway through.
Oh, you're so choppy still. You're like totally frozen right now. Yeah, I would start. Yeah, I mean, I don't know where to start.
Okay, so Patrick
it's great
says
when you start to get into the details of it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this might have been better with a slide sort of showing the numbers, but essentially what had happened is I ended up offering this seller 3.7 million with a $2.5 million vendor take back at 0% interest for 5 years. That difference of the 1.2 million that I would need to come up with for the down payment, I also got him to take back $1 million and give it to me as a promissory note for 8% for 2 years. So the only thing out of pocket for me to buy this 23-plex was $200,000, and it still cash flowed very well. So, it's an interesting way to look at things, where I ended up actually paying more for it. Down the road, I'm going to essentially end up paying the same amount when you take in the mortgage payments and all that stuff 5 years down the road. But out of pocket is literally nothing, right? 200,000 for a 23 plex is pretty good. And I get to add that it's an A property to my portfolio for long term. So just wanted to sort of get, the people's brains thinking that, just because MLS has a number that says it's this much, or the seller says, I want this much and that, take it or leave it. There are other options, especially if you can get face to face with that seller. And it's really about finding out what they want, like what means more to them. Is it the money? Is it long term? Is it deferring payments, deferring, their taxes, keeping them involved with the property because they have pride of ownership? There's all kinds of different things in there that you can factor into in order to stand out. He could have sold it to the other people who were looking to pay the 3.5 that he was asking, but he didn't because he liked what I had to offer, right? So just something to think about, some creative stuff. If anybody ever comes across something like that and they're trying to figure out, what to do, or, what sort of things that they want to come up with, I'm, more than willing to help you out if I've got the time. So.
Okay. Sorry, I feel like maybe you should have had all of those numbers written down, because I feel like there was a lot going on. But now, question for you. So you're buying it, or you've bought it for more than what he was asking.
Yes.
So when it comes time, like I was trying to explain this to Laura the other day, down the road, after 5 years, then what happens?
So after 5 years, I've also put into the offer that at the end of the 5-year vendor take-back term, I can either go another 5 years with him at 4%, which will be probably a pretty good percentage in 5 years at my discretion, or I can go refinance with traditional lender. So at that point, at that 5-year point, I'm back to where I would have been if I had paid just the 3.2 that I wanted to.
Now, how many of you would offer more than asking to lock up a deal? But I mean, like we said, real estate this is in Canada. This was in Ontario. It just goes to show you how much of a people business real estate is, right?
100%, yeah.
And it doesn't always come down to price. This guy had pride of ownership, and that's what was most important to him. All right. I think you had another story, and we won't stay on this very long because we want to get going to Tony. But there was another property you had bought, and it was through discussion with the seller that he found out, was it his mother was a tenant, and being able for her to stay in the unit in the building was what was the most important to him. He didn't disclose that when we were when he was talking to different potential buyers, and it was only through conversation that Shawn was able to find out, what, my mom lives here, I would really like her to stay here, and that's what ended up, that negotiation piece is what ended up getting you the deal.
It's a relationship game. You got to find out what means the most to people, right? And play off that. That's typically where you get the win-win scenarios out of.
That's right. Okay. Well, we are going to, thanks for sharing that, by the way. Thanks for joining us tonight, Shawn.
Glad I can be here.
We're going to move Tony LeBlanc, and I want to thank Tony for joining us tonight. It's funny. I was thinking of Tony because we're connected on social media, and then we got talking. I was talking to my one girlfriend, Sarah. She's like, "Oh yeah, Tony, that's who we work with." And then I was talking to another girlfriend, Melissa, and she's like, "Yeah, we work with Tony out east too." So it's like this small world, and Tony is kind of the connect. He's the East Coast guy. That's just who you are now. That's how I know you. You're the East Coast guy. So Tony has a ton of background in obviously the East Coast in investing, in property management. I'm going to let him go into detail as to who he is, but tonight Tony is going to be sharing with us, you know, all of the details, the ins and outs, that if you're considering wanting to invest on the East Coast in Canada, what you really should keep in mind, what you should know about that type of investing. So thank you so much for joining us tonight, Tony. I'm going to hand it over to you.
Amazing. Thank you. Appreciate it. Nick and Sarah, great job as always. Inspiring to hear that, a couple different things that I hadn't heard before. So it was always great. And what's also cool is as I'm scrolling through the list here, I see a couple other names that are very familiar, some other clients that we manage for some properties down here. So again, thanks for having me, guys. My job tonight, I guess, is really to have a conversation about Moncton, about the East Coast in general, and some of the different philosophies that we adhere to within our management company and our organization. I'll start by giving you guys kind of a bit of a history lesson in Moncton and kind of bring it back to where we are today, which is admittedly an absolutely crazy market. The pandemic has changed Moncton probably, I think, in my opinion, forever in terms of the real estate landscape and what we see. So if I go back, let's say about 8 or 9 years ago, Moncton was a very different place when it comes from the perspective of multifamily investing. I can remember very, very, very vividly within our walls of our management company, running through different situations and having tough conversations with a lot of owners when we were experiencing 10, 12, 13, 14, 15% vacancy rates. What had happened back then was the Moncton, if you guys have done any research on the different patterns when it comes to the vacancy rates down here, about every 7 years, we kind of go through these peaks and valleys. And again, about 8 or 9 years ago, we were in one of those situations where the vacancy rates were incredibly high for a very specific reason. It started off where the vacancy rates were pretty good. And immigration was slowly starting to start back then. And then basically we had an influx of builders, for the most part, local builders, start building apartment buildings everywhere in town. And it just so happened that I'd say about 75 to 80% of them all opened around the same period of time. So we're talking 2 or 3, 4 months tops in terms of separating, opening the doors and like pre-renting and pre-leasing of all these buildings. And all of a sudden, the entire market changed. The vacancy rates slowly started to increase, and there was just units available all over the place. And what that did was it was an oversupply in the market. So again, vacancy rates increased. But what happened after that was really telling. A lot of the developers that were building these buildings were local guys. One specific building, I think it was a 64 unit. It was built by 2 local guys and they flipped it to Killam, which is, I think at this point, Canada's largest REIT. And they made a killing, and the word spread very quickly in town, what they made and how much money and how much profit and all that. So you had all these other local guys throw up some buildings overnight. And about 3 to 6 months into the process, all of these new units on the market were not renting. Vacancy rates were going up, time was going by month, they're losing all of this rental income. And then all of a sudden, all of them start decreasing their rents in order to give discounts, to run any type of promotion that they could possibly think of. And it was like a battleground. You know, everybody was competing for the same great tenant, and we were just undercutting each other left and right. What that did was it created a complete shift in the market. So you had these new buildings being built, and we were renting them between $1,000 to $1,200 for, let's say, a 2-bedroom, nothing included. We finished 2 40-unit buildings. At the end of the day, we were renting these 2-bedroom apartments brand new for $950, all inclusive, heat and lights included. What that did again is it shifted all of the other building classes in the market to where the guy that was renting a B-class apartment for $850 to $900 was now all of a sudden being shown a brand new unit for around the same price. So everybody kind of jumped up class and they moved into these newer buildings. Of course, what happened was that created a huge, massive downwards effect to all of the older building owners, and vacancy rates skyrocketed. And it was a horrible time to be in property management. And I say this story because for those of you that are buying right now or looking in Moncton and you guys have seen the prices of what stuff is selling for, I can tell you 7 or 8 years ago, I couldn't give away a 24 unit building at around 40K a door. It just, nobody wanted to buy and everybody wanted to sell their properties. And it was a very, very challenging market. And it probably took us about 3 or 4 years to get out of that. A lot of those local builders that built lost their shirts. I'd say most, if not all, have already sold and they're on to doing other things and not so much into real estate anymore, for pretty good reasons. And it took a long time to be able to recover from that. And over the years since the pandemic has hit, Moncton kind of stayed pretty flat after that. Moncton's always been known as a pretty safe place. It's kind of conservative. Every 3, 4, 5 years, somebody starts a conversation in one of the groups, whether if it's in RAIN, Keyspire, Bigger Pockets, and then we get an influx of investors. But for the most part, Moncton's been kind of kept as a little bit of a gem and a little bit of secret. And it's really protected the price points of these properties. That all changed coming into the pandemic around 2 years ago. It seemed like it triggered a lot of people to go out and take real estate courses, because all of a sudden we just had this massive influx of people calling us from the real estate perspective and from the property management perspective. And over the last 24 months, it's been an absolutely a whirlwind of activity to see, a C-class property renting an average 2-bedroom apartment for $800, $900 a month, all inclusive, to now being rented at $1,300, $1,400 plus. It's completely gone from one spectrum to the other, to where today the average price points that you're seeing for maybe a C plus B type property, like Nick and Sarah shared, is going to be anywhere from 85, 90 grand to, I've seen 120 to 130,000 a door. Completely transformed. So all that transpired in the matter of, let's say 8 years. So right now we're going back up into another one of those peaks. So the vacancy rates are really low, and they have been for the last 2 years. My management company, over the last 3 years, we've averaged anywhere from around 1 to 2.5% vacancy rate. So we've always been a little bit below the market. It kind of goes up and down a little bit, but the vacancy rates right now are pretty low. So once again, we're seeing a huge upswing in new construction in the market. So if you guys are studying Moncton or you're looking at Moncton, again, a lot of this information is good, so you guys have a little bit more of a background of kind of what's going on and how things happen down here. So as we speak today, vacancy rates are low and there is a ton of construction. I literally sat in my office a couple of months ago looking over, we were on the 5th floor of a building, and I was overlooking all the different cranes in the city and all the different buildings that were coming up. We went on the whiteboard and we counted close to 3,000 units being built under construction within the Moncton, Riverview, Dieppe, and Shediac area, which is mind-boggling. Luckily, the city is doing a lot of great things to bring in a lot of foreigners into the city. A lot of people moving in from Toronto, a lot of people moving in from Vancouver, and of course, a lot of people migrating in from different countries. Our community colleges and our university have done amazing jobs bringing in people to be able to keep the population growing. So you've got the University of Moncton, you've got Community College of New Brunswick, you have Olton's College, and a bunch of other private colleges. So the population is growing at a rapid rate, very strong. I think we were number 3 in the fastest growing city in Canada. I read somewhere in some article. So from a demographic perspective, the city is growing with a lot of people coming in, moving in, and they're usually renting. Okay, so typically for the first year or so, They're going to be renting. They come here, they establish themselves, and they kind of go from there. All right. Is anybody still here? I don't see the. Shawn,
We're here.
are you there? Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're here.
my whole screen kind of went blank, and you guys all disappeared. So I thought you guys had passed
Oh, no.
again.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're all here. We
perfect.
still have a room full of people.
All right, perfect. So yeah, the state of the economy right now is it's very good, but it's very hot, and there is a ton of competition. So it's funny that we did this call tonight with Nick and Sarah, because Nick and we started working together probably 12 to 15 months ago. Again, a call like a lot that we receive, somebody from another province, they're looking for a property management company to be able to help them manage their property, and most of the time as well help them look for deals. And that's kind of how Nick and Sarah got connected with their first duplex that we helped them with. So we got a lot of people coming in here and looking for deals. I think, again, going back to the whole pandemic, I think that definitely triggered something to where a lot more people were looking at diversifying their incomes and possibly getting into real estate. And you're seeing a lot more of it on social media. So some of the considerations that I would have for you guys, if you guys are looking at the Moncton market. So I specialize in multifamily. That's really all I'm interested, to be honest with you. We take care of quite a few properties in town. We have, we fluctuate anywhere between 1,000 to 1,200 doors. Again, low rise to mid rise multifamily, different asset classes. So I've got some C plus, maybe, low D properties, all the way up to brand new units and everything in between. So again, a lot of people are coming in here. So multifamily right now is extremely hot. If you see something on MLS, I'm sure if you guys are looking, you're probably getting into many multiple bid situations, because everybody has a list of about 100 people looking to buy stuff. Right now, we're going through an inventory issue. I remember when Nick and I first started, working together last year, I was able to bring him a property probably every month and a half, I would say at most. And we kept, buying and buying and buying. And now it's become very different, because there's so many people, there's so many realtors out there that are now getting involved in selling investment properties, because there's just such an overflow of investors coming in here. And everybody's getting in touch with everybody looking to sell. So it's been very challenging to get inventory. So there's a question or a point that was talked about earlier in terms of, are you getting a lot of deals off market? I can tell you every deal that Sarah and I and Nick did were all off market. That's, I think, one of the perks that a great property manager will bring to your team is, I know personally, whenever I work with clients, I'm looking for partnerships. I'm looking to play a big role in their overall successes growing as investors. Because at the end of the day, my success is edged on theirs, because if I can help them grow, take good care of their properties, possibly help them find deals, get more properties. And if I continue to do a good job, then that means my management portfolio is going to continue to grow. So that's why we love working with Nick and Sarah and investors with that type of mindset, because I feel that we can bring a lot to the table in terms of helping them either find properties or whatever else their needs, whether it comes from construction, connecting them with different people in the marketplace, really whatever we can do, whatever role that we can play to be able to help them find something. So right now it's a bit challenging. There's a ton of competition. So if you guys are out there looking for stuff down here, then just connect with a lot of people, because it's going to be the days of talking to one or two or three people and you're going to see everything are done. It's too challenging. People are, cold calling owners left and right to get listings, to get sales, and everybody just wants to get in the market. So multifamily, very tough. For those of you that are investing that are more attracted to smaller properties, so single family, duplex, triplex, quad, kind of anything in the residential spectrum, there's still deals to be had. There's still a lot of old property in the city. Different pockets of Moncton offer different types of properties in the downtown market. It's kind of changing right now. It's going through a lot of what I think is a rebirth. There's a lot of older places that are being torn down, and then we've got a lot of new construction coming in, which is really great to try to build up some density in that downtown core. But there's a lot of different pockets. The Moncton North End, for those of you again that are studying the area, is a very, very good spot if you can find anything. Dieppe is a great spot. Again, it's newer, so it's going to be a lot more expensive. Also the West End in Moncton, Centennial Park, Jones Lake area is a beautiful spot. A lot of mature neighborhoods, mid-class B to like a B plus type neighborhood. But again, those are going to be mostly, you're going to find a lot of single family, a lot of duplexes, triplexes, and quads. Moncton doesn't have probably the greatest history or track record when it comes to single family investing. Whenever I talk to any investor that calls me, the first thing I always tell them when we get to that question, how big or what should I buy? My answer is always the same thing: buy the biggest you can afford. Because like Nick and Sarah had said, getting a 4-plex or a 12 unit or a 24, the reality is the bigger, the easier it is. It's that way for doing the deals. The due diligence is pretty much the same. And I can also say that from the management perspective, the bigger it is, the easier it is for us to take care of. So single families just haven't really done well in the city for investors, just because of the price point versus what you can get for rents. Even right now, it's even worse. So I remember 6-7 years ago where you could buy a brand new semi for 180,000. But back then the rents were 1,200. 1,250 max. Now that same semi-detached sells for 320,000, but the rents are still only around $1,700, $1,800, $1,900 mark. So we're still seeing a lot of gaps in that single family world. But as soon as you start graduating up to, like I said, a duplex or a triplex, then you usually can start buying stuff and looking at stuff that will make sense from an economic sense and actually have some sort of cash flow. So single family is traditionally been very challenging for the area. So again, the mid stuff, the tries and the fours, there's still a lot out there. If you see it on MLS, if it's been there too long, then you probably know there's a lot of issues with it because a ton of people have probably already passed on it. And if it's a newer listing that just came out, probably fully expect for these things to have multiple offers, and things are probably already gone by the time that you get to it. It's just kind of the state of what's going on right now. So that, that's out on that. So we're seeing Moncton become, and I saw a question in one of the, I think it was in the Q&A session about, is Moncton starting to look like Ontario when it comes to price point? I would say no, we're still pretty far away from that. The city is still very affordable. But the price on a door count in a multifamily has, quite frankly, since the last 7 or 8 years that we've been really paying attention to the market in terms of the sales, the door counts or the door prices have almost doubled in that short period of time. And to be honest with you, I don't expect it to go or to change anytime soon. I think Moncton we were in a bubble for a very, very long time. We were always steady Eddie. There wasn't a lot of big news in town, but we were always consistently, for those of you who didn't know, that Moncton was once considered the call center mecca of the world. We have and still have one of the best digital infrastructures in the world. In terms of Frank McKenna worked with NBTEL 30-40 years ago, and they put this double fiber optic ring around the province. And that's what brought us all these different call centers, that and our bilingualism, and basically, cheaper labor rate. Somebody making $20, $18, $20 an hour in Moncton can live a great lifestyle. So the price points are continuing to go up, and not quite to the Ontario mark, but fully expect to walk into these different situations on these multifamilies to where you're paying close to $100,000 a door. You're going to run into a lot of situations where the building's being sold at a very high price and the rents are not where they should be. So we're seeing a lot of owners experiencing issues with their valuations or their appraisals versus what they can get from the bank, versus what the NOI are. So I've had a lot of cases over the last 12 months where people are having to bridge some of this stuff in order to get enough time to be able to do the rent increases, to then do the refi and then kind of go through more of a traditional route from there. Yeah, still, again, it's getting expensive, but if you have a lot of people out there looking for you and you're constantly keeping in contact with a lot of these people, you should be able to find a deal. But I would say most of them at this point they're going to have some sort of a BRRRR or a renovation strategy behind them, because you're probably getting it at a good, decent price because the owner hasn't increased their prices too much. And there's still some room there or some value add for you to be able to come in, do what you need to do, still get the proper rents, refi it, and then do your whole rinse and repeat strategy from there. So still some deals. I also saw some questions or some comments around the Rentalsman Act and the different rules and regulations about New Brunswick. Yes, they are very different from Ontario, very different from Quebec, and a good mixture of Ontario versus Nova Scotia. So a lot of people invest here because of that, in spite of our double taxation. So yes, New Brunswick is the only province in Canada that has 2 tax rates and not just one. We have a municipal part as well as a provincial. This is something that we've been fighting now for 10 to 12 years in trying to get this secondary tax removed. But at the end of the day, 4 or 5 years ago, I was the president of the Moncton Real Estate Landlord Association, and we sat with one of the premiers of New Brunswick, and he basically said, we're making around $90 million a year from that secondary tax money. How are you going to get that back to us? Was his answer, or his verbatim back to us. So we knew right then, right there, that the chances of ever getting this pushed back is going to be very, very challenging. They were supposed to start it right before COVID hit. And of course, everything got moved off the table. And I'm not quite sure if and when it will ever happen. So if you're coming here thinking that this thing is going to be changed sometime soon, get that out of your head. It's probably not going anywhere anytime soon. With regards to the rentalsman, so that's our landlord body here in New Brunswick. Yes, our rules and regulations are very good in terms of being dictated how much we can do increases, the timing of it, what are the timelines on evicting tenants is very, very good. Essentially, on a perfect situation, I can have a notice to vacate delivered to a tenant at supper time on the 2nd or the morning of the 2nd of the month, and go through the entire process and have a unit that were handed back the keys to by the 25th, 26th of that same month. That's if everything goes perfectly. Now, there's a lot of things that can go wrong, but that just goes to show you that we have some good things in place to be able to protect you as landlords. That being said, Nick and Sarah and everybody that's familiar with our market, I'm kind of giving you guys an inside scoop here. It's not announced, but this Friday, there's some new rules and regulations that are coming into the marketplace by the rentalsmen, by the province. And about 6 months ago, we had this big, the government did a big survey, because there was a lot of complaints being made in the news, in the media, that outsiders, people from Toronto and Big Bad Vancouver, are coming into Moncton, this small little city, scooping up all these properties and jacking up the rents. And couple news articles, one too many, and then the government start listening. It's like, oh, what's going on here? And it's not only Moncton, it's St. John, it's Fredericton, it's pretty much been all over. But there's been a few different groups that are stirring up a lot of stuff, and they got the government's attention, unfortunately, and they are now coming up with some new rules. So some of the things that's changing. So we're now only able to do a rent increase once per year, versus before, if I had a month-to-month lease, I could do a rent increase literally every 2 months if I wanted to. So maximum of once per year. All rent increases are now required 6 months notice. That's a big, big game changer. On a month-to-month notice, we only had to give the month's notice. On a year-to-year, we had to give them 3. So that's now doubling to all leases is a 6-month rent increase notice. So big, big change. And then the other one is the tenants, they're really increasing the ability for the tenants to be able to fight rent increases if they are not validated. So that's big. Previously, they didn't really publicize this much, but because of the activities that are going on to the marketplaces, to where whether if it's a local owner or an out of province investor, it doesn't really matter. The market went up so fast. A standard 2-bedroom apartment, again, 850, 900, nothing included. That same unit is renting for 12, 13, 1400 with no differences in renovations. It's just, that's how things have gone up so quickly. I'd say $200 to $400 over the last 18 months since COVID hit. So the government, a lot of people were complaining about that. So I think we're going to run into situations to where if any tenant is complaining or they go to the rentalsman saying, hey, I just got like a $400 increase, which we've done and it happens, we're now going to have to give some sort of backup or proof to be able to show why it is that we're doing that. So it's going to, it is what it is. It's pretty easy to show the increase in expenses in all these buildings, especially for people buying them. They're buying them at a much higher price point. Everything's gone up, from maintenance to materials to power usage, electricity, insurance has skyrocketed. So lots of different things are changing. So I think we're going to be able, in a lot of cases, justify a lot of this stuff. But again, for everybody out there that's watching the market, this Friday, these changes are going to go into place. And I'm telling you, this is only the first step. I think that there are more rent controls coming. I don't know what they're going to look like, but I know this is only round one. So be prepared for that. So yeah, price points, cap rates. So the Moncton market, again, about 8 years ago, I was easily selling everything between a 7 and an 8 cap all day. Cash flows were amazing. Again, you couldn't give them away at that point. So the deals were good. What we're seeing right now is 5.5 to 6. If you're lucky, 6.5. If you're really lucky, you might find a 6.5. But most of the stuff is around the high 5s to the low 6s. I'm even hearing some buzz from some of my clients out there that working with various appraisers, and there's even some things coming appraised at like a 5.2, 5.5 cap rate, which is crazy for Moncton to think that this is already happening in such a short change. So that's typically what we're seeing out in the marketplace. A little bit about, so we've heard a lot, Nick and Sarah talked a lot about investing remotely. So obviously, being an owner of a property management company, that 95% of my clients are out of province. I think I'm a big proponent of, sharing with investors that you don't have to be scared to buy out of province, right? If you can connect with and find the right contacts wherever you're investing, it is 100% doable. And it'll probably actually be a lot less stressful for you than actually being here on the ground, boots on the ground. There's a lot of great people from contacts in terms of the realtor world. I'm a little bit biased to connecting with great property managers because I think they're very undervalued in this marketplace. Typically, a lot of the times we're the first person to know when a deal is coming out. We have a lot of connections with our owners, obviously. Sarah mentioned again earlier about this whole world of real estate investing is all about relationships. In my world of property management, it's all about relationships. I'm not a transactional guy. I'm in this for the long run. I want to work together for 10, 15, 20 years if I possibly can, running your buildings and helping you grow in terms of into what you want to be able to do. So finding, if you're out there looking for property management companies, I think for us, one of the differentiating factors and attracts a lot of out of province investors is really our infrastructure. We're probably one of the larger property management companies in town, but we also have a lot of support and infrastructure to be able to handle the different needs of investors, because it's very different. Nick and Sarah coming to me and saying, hey, Tony, we want to buy this duplex and we want to do a BRRRR on it, versus an owner calling me saying, let's go meet for coffee. Tony, here's this project that I'm buying. I'm going to do all the burn. I'm going to run it all. I just need you to find me tenants when we're done. Completely different conversation. So from an infrastructure standpoint, I think it should be important for you to be one of those things that you're kind of checking off your checkbox when you're having conversations with PMs and you're doing that interviewing process, is having an understanding of what their infrastructure looks like. So, how big they are, what type of clients that they're dealing with, how many staff and how many professionals they have on staff. And also often a good question is ask them if they have an office. A lot of smaller PM companies, again, they're run out of Starbucks or they're run out of their houses or whatever the case may be. When you get to a certain stage, obviously an office presence becomes a requirement because you're dealing with a lot of staff. So, we pride ourselves. We have, a great management company with, and in a group of companies with, we're reaching close to 50 people, from property managers to a chartered accountant on staff, to a licensed plumber, to maintenance techs, concrete people, like you name it. We've brought in the right group to be able to handle really any situation, because that was the deal that we took when we said we were going to primarily work with outside investors. They have a very different set of needs than most people. And from a property management perspective, if you do it right, you can actually build a pretty great business and, cultivate and build and build off these relationships like we've done with Nick and Sarah and helping them in their journey. So that's been a big, obviously a big key differentiator within our business and kind of what we do in Moncton. But I think that kind of gives you guys a good overview of the market, where we are. It's pricey, super competitive. Be prepared if you're coming into this market. Have your SHIT together, have it ready. If you're, if you're doing the financing yourself and you're not bringing in JV partners, have your finances ready. Get something a pre-approval, because you're going to have to pull the trigger pretty quick on these things. I felt bad a lot whenever I called Nick. I'm like, Nick, I got a deal. I need an answer in 24 hours. Shit, it's like, that's a lot of pressure, but it's the reality. It was the reality of the situation, because if he's not ready, then, a lot of people, and I was in the same boat, I've got 10 other people that will take it. So you'll often find that, I think, in our marketplace right now. So just be prepared, have everything in place, have your team in place, have your finances in place, banker, all these different team that you're going to be working with, and lean into your PM, for advice in a lot of different ways. I think we can provide a tremendous amount of value where a lot of you maybe didn't think of asking or talking about various things. So strongly encourage you guys to lean into that. So hopefully that gives you a better picture of that. Totally up for some Q&A for some more questions on Moncton and our market.
Fantastic. That's awesome. Tons of great information there, Tony. And I'm going to dive in. I can't speak here. Dive into some questions. So we have. I'm going to sort of work backwards. Are these rule changes that are effective Friday for all of New Brunswick, or specific to Moncton? That was Wendy's question.
New Brunswick. So everything, the rentalsman is run by Service New Brunswick. So it's across the province. Okay.
Now, someone's also asking, what about job creation news, GDP growth, that sort of thing?
Yeah, Moncton. So from a geographical perspective, when you look at Moncton, we're called the hub of the Maritimes. So we're right in the middle of the Atlantic provinces. So Moncton has always enjoyed a lot of benefits to that in terms of being a transport hub of the Maritimes. So we've always gotten our fair share of industrial companies, a lot of warehouses. We have a lot of trucks that come through. So anybody wanting to go to Halifax or to Nova Scotia or typically to PI, they usually always come through Moncton. So we've been able to pretty well over the years attract a lot of different types of companies. So Moncton in New Brunswick is very well known for its forestry. Again, call center mecca of the world. Pretty much every big company, UPS, FedEx, Purolator, DHL, RBC, TD Bank, like you name it, all of these people had massive 200, 300, 400 unit or people call centers. So that there, a lot of them are still here. They're not as big as they used to be. But right now we're going through a couple different stories. So about a year ago, they just announced a $90 million project being done by the federal government right next to the university. So that's going to be bringing in, I think they said, a couple hundred jobs. Walmart just opened up a super center in 10 minutes from Moncton in Skalkos, 200 and some jobs. TD Bank created a massive call center, bringing in 800 employees over the next 5 years. So there's always been a really, really good influx of jobs in the area. And the current leaders that are here right now, especially the mayor of Moncton, Dawn, she's huge on immigration. So if they keep bringing in the people, it's just going to keep the city thriving. So very, very good on that perspective.
Fantastic. Now, someone was asking about your prediction for vacancy when it comes to long-term, long-term forecasting. It sounds like, though, with all the growth happening, vacancy might not really be an issue.
I think in the next 12 months, it's going to be a bloodbath with the new construction. I think they're going to be, we were talking tonight, I think within the next couple of months, there's like 500 units coming on the market. These are all going to be $1,600, $1,700, $1,800, $1,900 units, like pretty expensive stuff. And that market is just not that big. So I think we're going to see a lot of competing. I think we're going to see a lot of cutthroat. But the good thing about this time around is a lot of these, they're not going to create havoc in the overall infrastructure and the classes, because the people building right now have very deep pockets. They're all very, very substantial backed companies, and they're hopefully going to be able to withstand the time that it's going to take probably to fill these buildings. I think some are going to fill up relatively quickly, but there's just going to be, now if I want to go see a brand new 2-bedroom, 2-bath underground parking, instead of only having 2 buildings to choose from, they're going to have 10. So that changes the game. So I think their vacancy rate is going to be impacted. I think ours, so I mean everybody else in the C, B, classes, I think it's going to go up a little bit, but I don't see it. I see it probably resting in the 3.5%, 4%, or 5%. I don't see it going much up higher than that, unless something drastically happens with immigration and kind of that gets kiboshed. But COVID's been great for Moncton. We're getting a ton of ex-Ontarians and Vancouver and Alberta, and trades are moving back from out west in terms of, we lost a ton of people working out on the oil rigs. A lot of them are coming back because they can now make 25, 30 bucks an hour here, versus before it was 17, 18 bucks. So it's changing the game.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, someone else is asking about, speaking about jobs, are there a lot of seasonal jobs out that way, or is the employment fairly consistent?
I would say it's fairly consistent. We do have a lot of seasonal in the summer for our fisheries. So obviously we're right on the ocean. So there's a lot of like lobster, there's a lot of fishing, there's a lot of stuff up there. So there are larger groups that come in to do seasonal work for that. A lot of times what happens is a lot of these seasonal guys, they come and do snow removal in the winter. So, they're kind of always doing full-time work, but there's certain industry that does have a lot of seasonality to it, mostly fishing for the most part.
Right. And I can imagine they stay quite busy doing snow removal in the winter in
yes.
outings.
No.
Now, Wendy is asking if you offer property management services outside of Moncton. So if someone was looking at elsewhere, do you do that? Do you have someone you recommend, or different people?
So we did once upon a time. We had offices in Charlottetown and in Halifax, but we've since sold off those two, and we just solely focus on Moncton, Riverview, and Dieppe at this point. So no, we do not offer outside of the city. However, you could always contact me and reach out. And if you're looking for a specific city, such as St. John, Fredericton, or anywhere else in the vicinity, I would definitely know somebody that I could throw a name your way and do an introduction of some sort.
Cool. And actually, this reminds me of a question I think I saw. Yeah, I have seen. So Carolyn was asking, Nick and Sarah were talking about building a team, and you want to make sure that you've got an appraiser, a banker, a great property manager, that sort of thing. But how, if you're located in Ontario, do you have some tips as to how you can start building a team out east if you're not physically out there?
Yeah, it's not being afraid to get on the phone and making the phone calls. We're spoiled with social media at this point. It's not hard to find out who's the who. So quick tip. So real estate investor groups on Facebook. There's pretty much one for every city at this point. So if you want to know more about Moncton or St. John or Fredericton or whatever, go to Facebook and search for real estate investor group Moncton. We have one. Another girl, one. There's probably multiple ones, but there was a new recent one. So social media, obviously Google, who are the players in town. Property management, obviously great source. They're often good connectors to the entire ecosystem and the entire chain of what needs to be done. Realtors, obviously, as well, if they specialize in that world. But that's really going to be the other way, and get involved with groups like you guys that can give you a referral or a contact to somebody that they know, right? That's always been the best approach. So if I know somebody that has actually worked with somebody, fantastic. Every call that we get, and I'll probably get 5-10 calls a week for management, and it's like, oh, I spoke to so-and-so, and KeySpotter comes up, I don't know how many times over the last couple of years. It's all I hear. And it's like, yeah, I spoke to this such and so and such and so. A lot of those people are Nick. Thank you, Nick. But those are really good ways to kind of get away from being too scared to be able to jump in.
Awesome. Hillary has a great question, and this is something that's come up in Ontario quite a bit, is people moving away from the long-term rental structure and doing more short-term rentals, Airbnbs, that sort of thing. So Hillary's asking, what do you think about Airbnbs in that specific area and using that area to invest?
I think it's great. I think it's fun to see. I think there's a lot of cool spots in town that people are using as Airbnbs. I think Airbnb has a really, really good use case, specifically in Moncton right now. So we're getting a ton of immigrants coming in here. They're literally arriving at the airport, and they don't got anywhere else to go. So a hotel doesn't really work that well. Airbnb has been amazing for these types of situations. They can come here, spend a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It gives them enough time to find an apartment, and they're in a place that's fully ready to go. It's fully furnished. It's got all the dishes. It's got everything. So I think it has its place. I think from the financial aspect, I think they do very well in Moncton. You've got some of the bigger operators that do very well, and then you kind of got every other Tom, Dick, and Harry that's trying to make a few bucks, and that's not probably a great experience. But we're seeing a lot of Airbnb downtown. We're seeing a lot of Airbnb in Shediac, which is a waterfront. So you're seeing a ton of activities out there, cottages and stuff like that. But yeah, find the right spot, find the right person to take care of it. Airbnb is a completely different business than traditional long-term month-to-month property management. We don't even touch Airbnb. But find the right person, and it'll probably do okay, and have a nice place, obviously.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then Nadine was just asking, when will the new rent rules be in effect? Friday. Okay.
Friday. So Nick and Sarah, I'm working on all your rent increases, by the way. FYI, you'll be hearing from me tomorrow.
And on that note, it is 3 minutes to 9. So we want to make sure you are not too tired for tomorrow working on all that stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Tony, and for sharing all of your info, all of your knowledge. How can people connect with you if they have more questions, if they want to invest in Moncton and are looking for a property manager?
Sure. Easiest way is go on our website, groundfloorpm.com. So ground floor property management. You'll have a contact us in there, and that's the easiest way.
Okay, I'm going to put that in the chat here. You said groundfloorpm.com.
Yep.
Okay. There it is. And we'll make sure we put that out when we do the replay. We'll send all the details. Thank you, Tony. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sorry, do you have anything else you want to ask?
No, it was awesome. Very informative. Thank you, Tony. Appreciate it.
No
Yeah,
worries, my
appreciate your
pleasure.
time. It's, I guess it's 10 o'clock out your way, isn't it?
It's
You're a
10
little bit.
o'clock for us. Yeah, we're an hour
Okay, yeah.
ahead.
So
It's all
we'll
good.
let you guys go, but let's see here. Oops, let's see. Go back to gallery. Okay, I think everyone can see us now. So thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you everyone for staying on. I know I always think we won't fill the 2 hours. I'm sure, and then we always go to like, oh, we better stop. It's been 2 hours. So thanks everybody. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Make sure for everyone watching, if you haven't sat down to think about, like really think about what you want to accomplish in 2022, I encourage you to take this time, you know, at the end of the year to first of all, reflect on what you've been able to accomplish this year. Really, you know, think about that, reflect on it, celebrate it. And then like Nick and Sarah were saying, you know, the very first point, think about what it is you want and what you're willing to compromise. You know, what are you willing to work on this year? What's that vision that you have for your life, and how are you going to start to get there? Speakers, do you have any points as we start to, you know, think about 2022, moving into the new year? Any points that you want to share for encouragement, for motivation or strategy?
Planning. We just got finished doing our 2-day quarterly event, and I can't stress enough the importance around planning and just not letting things just happen, right? We all lead very busy lives. We're all doing all sorts of stuff. And if you want to actually, you know, accomplish some things, then be okay with putting in the work and putting in the time to be able to put a plan together that makes sense. And just putting it out there. It can completely transform everything.
Totally. If it's not in your calendar, it doesn't exist, right?
No, that's right. Right.
Yeah. And then once you've done all your planning, then go for it. Do it. Make it happen.
Exactly. There's a great resource. I'll share it in the when I send out our email replay. I think it was this time last year. I had sort of done a planning session with all of our attendees. So I'll maybe repost that. And if anyone has time over the next, you know, few weeks thinking about the next year, you can go through that and do it yourself. So anyhow, with that, I will let everyone go. Have a great evening. And we will see everyone in 2022. Thank you so much to
Thanks,
our
guys.
speakers.
Happy
Thank you.
holidays, everybody.
Thanks, Shawn. Thanks, Jen. Take care, guys.
Bye.
Take care.
All right.